All right, welcome back. So, you've probably heard a ton about OpenAI lately, huh? Especially with ChatGPT kind of blowing up.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
But today we're going to go deeper, beyond the hype, give you a real insider's look at this company that's basically shaping the future of AI.
Pretty much, yeah. And we've got some really cool sources here, stuff that takes you behind the scenes at OpenAI.
Awesome. So what's it actually like there?
Well, from what we've gathered, it's kind of wild. Like their headquarters, Bloomberg described it as this futuristic spa meets Westworld kind of vibe.
Whoa, seriously?
Seriously. And get this, even their chief scientist is like an artist.
I did read that, yeah. Wait, didn't they mention something about a painting?
Yes, a painting of their logo, the OpenAI logo, but with a flower. Makes you wonder, right?
Totally. Like AI with a human touch.
Maybe. What do you think the flower represents?
I don't know. Definitely something to think about.
Okay.
But let's shift gears for a sec and talk about the person behind a lot of this, Mira Murati, the CTO of OpenAI. She's basically the architect of their strategy.
Right. If ChatGPT is like this powerful engine, she's the one steering it, guiding the teams, setting the long-term vision, basically solving all these impossible problems to make it actually happen.
No pressure, right.
Right.
But speaking of pressure, there was that whole gonna go moment with ChatGPT before it launched.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. Like, did they even realize what they were about to unleash on the world?
Exactly.
Well, they knew it was powerful, definitely saw the potential, but also the risks. So they needed feedback from real people using it, to understand its limits before it went viral.
It's like a science experiment, but with, a chatbot that can write poetry.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And then, boom, it explodes.
Yeah.
Everybody and their grandma wants to talk to an AI.
It was huge. I mean, record-breaking huge. Fastest growing tech product in history, they say. I think even OpenAI was surprised.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, but I got to ask, how does this thing actually work?
Well, it's not magic.
I know.
But it's definitely complicated. Think like massive neural networks trained on mountains of data, all powered by these supercomputers. It's basically a machine that's learned to predict, what word comes next in a sentence.
But scaled up to a crazy level.
Exactly, a crazy level.
So it's all about prediction. That's so wild.
It is pretty wild.
Makes you wonder about Google. Are they sweating bullets? Is OpenAI trying to take over the whole search market?
That's the big question everyone's asking. But Mira, OpenAI's CTO, she says no, that's not their goal.
Interesting.
They see ChatGPT as a totally different way to access information, more intuitive, more like a conversation than just typing in keywords.
Okay, so you're talking to, I don't know, a super smart friend.
Yeah, something like that.
But even your smartest friend, they can get things wrong sometimes.
That's true.
And that brings us to the whole, hallucination issue? Why do these AIs just make stuff up?
It's weird, right? It's almost like they're reflecting, I don't know, a very human tendency. When we don't know the answer, we kind of invent one.
Makes sense, but
the problem is it gets kind of scary when it's a super convincing human-like AI spreading misinformation.
Right. Then how do you even know what's real anymore? And it's going to get even harder as these AI things get more and more human-like. Should they have to identify themselves, do you think? Hey, I'm an AI, by the way.
Ooh, that's a huge question, a really ethical question. Things are definitely getting blurry, and we're headed towards a future where, I don't know, humans and AI are collaborating so closely that the results, you can't even tell who did what.
Right. That's going to get complicated. And what about jobs? A lot of people are pretty worried about that.
For sure. Mira has acknowledged that, some jobs, they're going to be lost. Others will just change. But new jobs will pop up, too. Think about it. What about prompt engineers? That wasn't even a thing a few years ago.
Yeah, good point.
It's kind of hard to predict exactly how the job market will shift, but it's definitely going to change.
No doubt. But, with change comes responsibility. We got to think about the ethics of all of this.
100%. And there's been some criticism of OpenAI, specifically their use of Kenyan workers to, clean up their data.
Oh, right, to filter out all the toxic stuff.
Exactly. But they were paying them, really low wages for this work. And it's emotionally heavy work, all that disturbing content.
Yeah, it makes you think about the human cost of all this progress. And what about kids? How do we even approach exposing them to this stuff?
Yeah, that's a big one. Mira's been really cautious on that front. Especially with, kids, we're still figuring out the impact, so safeguards are crucial.
It's definitely uncharted territory.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about OpenAI, but they're not in a vacuum, right? Investors have a big stake in this game. What's their perspective?
Well, Reid Hoffman, he's the LinkedIn co-founder and an early OpenAI backer. He's got some interesting things to say.
Okay, like what?
Well, he compares the rise of AI to, like, the internet and mobile revolutions.
Oh, that's big.
But he thinks AI will be even bigger.
Really? Even bigger than the internet?
That's what he says. He thinks it'll impact, well, everything.
Okay, so we're talking major disruption. And speaking of disruption, Hoffman is also known for, what is it, blitzscaling?
Right. He coined that term. Basically, it's all about speed.
Yeah.
You know, prioritizing speed over everything else when things are uncertain.
So like a startup mentality, move fast and break things.
Exactly, but with AI. And he's predicting that AI is going to integrate into our lives, get this, faster than the iPhone did.
Wow. Okay, but not everyone is on board with this whole move fast and break things approach. Right. Elon Musk, he actually co-founded OpenAI with Sam Altman.
Right, right.
But he's been pretty critical of them lately.
Yeah, he left OpenAI years ago, and he's not been quiet about his concerns.
So what's he so worried about?
Well, mainly the shift from nonprofit to for-profit, and their close ties to Microsoft. He sees it as, like, a betrayal of the original mission.
It's like he's saying they've become the very thing they set out to challenge another big tech giant.
Pretty much. But Hoffman, he defends OpenAI. He says their structure actually lets them balance their mission with, you know, the reality of needing money to make it all happen.
Okay, so who's right? Is OpenAI selling out, or are they just being pragmatic?
It's a tough one. It's really a debate about ethics, about control, about the future of a powerful technology. And that's something we're going to keep unpacking as we continue this look inside OpenAI. He thinks they need the cash, you know, to actually do what they're trying to do.
Right, to pursue their mission.
Yes.
So it's like, stay true to your ideals, but maybe you can't actually make a difference or compromise to get the resources to change the world.
Exactly. It's tough, especially with something as big as AI, you know?
Totally. And speaking of big and dramatic, we got to talk about Elon Musk leaving OpenAI. It wasn't exactly a peaceful parting of ways.
Oh, yeah, he did not go quietly.
He slammed the door on his way out. It was like, what, back in 2018?
2018, yeah. And he has not held back since.
Not one bit.
Major disagreements, he said, with where they were going.
Like what specifically?
The for-profit thing, for one, and getting so close to Microsoft. He even called OpenAI closed source, said they're basically controlled by Microsoft.
It's almost like he's saying they've become the enemy, you know, another big tech giant that cares more about profits than, like, saving humanity.
That's definitely the vibe he's giving off. He thought they were going to be this transparent alternative to Google, not just another player in the big tech game.
It's pretty ironic when you think about it. Musk, the open source champion, versus OpenAI.
Yeah.
Which isn't so open anymore.
Yeah, and it really highlights this big tension in the AI world. Like, we need transparency, collaboration, too, so we can make sure AI is developed safely and ethically.
Right, right.
But then you've got all this money involved, commercial pressure. And people are scared of this tech getting into the wrong hands.
It's like, how do you find that balance? So how does Hoffman defend OpenAI against all of this?
He says they need the money. That's the bottom line. You can't do this kind of research without serious funding.
Makes sense. I mean, think about the computing power they need, the data, and then they got to pay all those brilliant people.
Exactly. But Hoffman insists their mission, the nonprofit one, is still at the heart of it all.
Okay, but is that enough? Like, are people going to buy it? Especially those who are, you know, worried about big tech getting even bigger and more powerful.
That's the question, isn't it? I think it all comes down to having these open, honest conversations about what could go wrong, you know? Transparency, control, bias. We got to talk about it all.
Totally agree. We can't just blindly celebrate AI without thinking about the risks. And it's not just on OpenAI, right? It's on all of us to, like, stay informed.
Yeah, we've all got a role to play in this. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. OpenAI is doing some interesting things to address these concerns.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, like with DALL-E.
DALL-E, the one that makes those crazy images.
Yep, that's the one. They actually delayed its release.
Why?
They wanted to focus on safety, you know, training it to be, well, safer.
So it wouldn't create, like, deepfakes or something.
Yeah, exactly. They knew how powerful it was, so they spent months making sure it wouldn't be used for bad stuff.
That's pretty responsible of them. So how'd they do it?
They went the API route.
Okay, back up. What's an API?
Think of it as a controlled way to access the tech. Instead of, like, giving everyone the source code, they give developers these tools, but in a limited way. you know?
So they can still keep an eye on things, make sure nobody's doing anything shady.
Yep, it gives them more control. But of course, some people aren't happy about it. They think OpenAI should mean open source.
Right.
But Hoffman, he defends the decision. He says open doesn't have to mean open source, that they're still fulfilling their mission this way.
So it's about finding that balance again. Openness, but also, like, responsibility.
Exactly. And it's hard. It's a constant back and forth.
No doubt. But hey, it's not all about the risks and the challenges. AI can do a lot of good in the world, too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're already seeing it. AI is helping to develop new medicines to tackle climate change.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's really what OpenAI is all about, using AI to, make the world a better place.
It's easy to get lost in the fear or even the hype. But yeah, AI can be a force for good. So we've covered a lot of ground. What are your biggest takeaways from all this?
I think the main thing for me is that OpenAI is just, complicated. They're doing amazing things with AI, but they're also wrestling with all these ethical issues. They're trying to balance their mission with the commercial side of things. They're not perfect, but they're definitely trying to do this right.
It's definitely a fascinating story, and it's not over yet. So what's the one question our listeners should be thinking about as we wrap up this part of our look inside OpenAI?
That's a good one. I think the question is this. We're creating technology that has the power to change everything, completely reshape our world. So what kind of future do we want? What role do each of us want to play in making that future happen?
It's a big question, but it's the right one to ask. We can't just sit back and let things happen. We have to be active. We have to be thoughtful.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to pick this back up in our next part. We're going to dig even deeper into OpenAI's impact on the world. Explore how this technology has the potential to, change everything. All right, so we're back. We've talked about OpenAI, their headquarters, the people running the show, the ethical stuff. But let's get to the real world stuff. How are they actually using this technology?
It's kind of crazy how much they're doing, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, their language model, GPT-3, it's everywhere.
GPT-3, that's the thing behind ChatGPT, right?
The one and only. But it's not just, chatbots. This thing can write content, generate code, translate languages, summarize, really complex info. It's like a super-powered writing assistant,
Yeah, it does sound pretty sci-fi. But is it, putting people out of work? What about writers? Coders?
It's not really about replacing people, I think. It's more like it gives people superpowers.
Superpowers.
Yeah. Take coding. GPT-3 can help you write code way faster, way more efficiently, but you still need humans to, come up with the ideas, to make sure it actually works.
So it's more like a partnership then. Humans and AI working together.
Totally. And this isn't just about language either. OpenAI's got their hands in image generation too, with DALL-E and robotics. Even scientific research.
Whoa, okay, hold on. Give me some examples. What are they actually doing with all of that?
Okay, so with DALL-E, it's basically an AI artist. You give it a text prompt, and it creates a super realistic or even totally surreal image.
Wow, I've seen some of those. It's pretty mind-blowing. So what can you do with that, practically?
Oh, tons of stuff. Think advertising, marketing campaigns, concept art for movies or video games. Scientists can even use it to visualize data. The possibilities are kind of endless.
It's wild how much AI is changing things, especially for creative people. Okay, but what about robots? How does OpenAI fit into that?
They're building robots that can learn. By doing things, messing up, trying again, solving puzzles, moving stuff around.
So they're teaching robots to learn kind of like humans do.
Exactly. Which means down the line, you could have robots doing all sorts of stuff that's, dangerous or repetitive for humans. Manufacturing, logistics, even healthcare. Think robots working alongside doctors and nurses.
Okay, now that's a future I can get behind.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of freaky. It's AI is blurring the lines between real life and the digital world.
It is. And then there's the science side of things.
Yeah, you mentioned that. What are they doing there?
AI is becoming a really powerful tool for scientists. OpenAI's models can analyze tons of data, find patterns, even come up with new hypotheses. It's like having an AI research partner, helping scientists make breakthroughs faster.
It's amazing how far this stuff has come.
Yeah.
But more power, more responsibility, right? What about the ethical stuff? How are they making sure these tools aren't used for, bad things.
Yeah, that's a huge concern. They've got rules, usage policies, all that stuff built into their API. Like, you can't use it to create hate speech or misinformation.
So they're drawing a line in the sand.
Definitely. And they're putting a lot of effort into AI safety research, too, making sure these systems are reliable, that they do what they're supposed to do, and that they align with, our values as humans.
It sounds like they're really trying to think ahead, anticipate the problems before they happen.
Yeah, they're trying to get out in front of it. And they're talking to governments, to regulators, trying to make sure AI is developed responsibly.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. It's a reminder that AI is a tool, right? And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's up to us to make sure it's used the right way.
Absolutely. We all have a role to play here.
So we've covered a lot about OpenAI, their work, their mission, their challenges. Anything else our listeners should keep in mind as we wrap up this deep dive?
I think the big takeaway is this. AI is changing fast, really fast, and OpenAI is right at the forefront of that change. It's pretty amazing to see what they're doing, but we also have to remember the power of this technology. It can change the world, and we all need to be a part of that conversation to make sure it changes for the better.
I think that's a great place to leave it. It's been an incredible journey exploring the world of OpenAI, and I want to thank you for joining us. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and let's all work together to build a future where AI benefits everyone.